This NFL season really shows us that this league is pretty much led by coaches and stars. Watching teams like the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid, the Seahawks with Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, the Packers with Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur, the Ravens with Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh. This league has had a ton of other exciting, explosive teams that we love to watch each Sunday, but there is one team I have as good of a shot to win the Super Bowl as any of those teams I just mentioned, but aren't as exciting or as explosive. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the most underrated team in the NFL, and I will tell you why. Before we continue, make sure you like, comment, share, subscribe, as we're on our way to 100 subscribers, and hopefully we'll get there soon. But onto the video. So back in the offseason, I took a look at the AFC and looked at the Chiefs, Ravens, Patriots, Bills, Titans, and thought to myself, okay, these are the Super Bowl contenders from the AFC. But it felt like I was forgetting a team, and then I realized the Steelers, who went an impressive 8-8 the season prior with a second and third string quarterback and a down year from key playmakers Juju Smith-Schuster and James Conner. Knowing that the Steelers have one of the best cultures in the NFL with Mike Tomlin and that whole organization, they're always going to compete, and knowing that Big Ben was going to return and hopefully to normal form, which means Juju and Conner would elevate their games because of it, and also knowing that the Steelers have a top 5 defense in the league coming back next season, I had no doubt in my mind that the Steelers would be a sleeper contender coming into the 2020 NFL season. Here we are now, 7 weeks into the season, and the Pittsburgh Steelers sit at 5-0 and have been dominant in pretty much every game they've played so far. The first argument people will bring up is that the Steelers' schedule has been nothing short of a cakewalk, and I agree. Pittsburgh has played the Giants, Broncos, Texans, Eagles, and Browns, which those teams have combined for a dreadful 9-19 record. So you might ask, how in the world can you consider this team a Super Bowl contender or sleeper based off of that horrible schedule? Well, my answer is a couple things. First, the Steelers are no doubt a top 5 defensive team in the league this season, and no, it's not because they're playing bad teams. In 2019, the Steelers went 8-8 with pretty much no offense and playing against teams like the Patriots, Seahawks, 49ers, and of course the Ravens twice, and finished with the 3rd best passing defense in the league and only giving up 3.8 yards per carry, which was good for 3rd in the league once again. Now looking at the first 5 games of 2020, the Steelers are 1st in pass defense and 1st in rush defense. And I do not care who it was against, that is damn impressive. Against the Cleveland Browns, who had the best rushing attack in the league, got locked up for only 75 yards rushing, and forced Baker Mayfield to throw the ball into the great Steelers secondary with guys like Joe Hayden, who is a veteran, Minkah Fitzpatrick, who's already about to eclipse his numbers from 2019, and Terrell Edmonds. So the back end is elite, and don't get me started with how great their front 7 is with TJ Watt, who was my pick for Defensive Player of the Year, Vince Williams, who is 1st in the league in tackles for loss. Who was 2nd? That would happen to be TJ Watt. Bud Dupree, Stephon Tuitt, Cameron Hayward, Devin Bush, up until his ACL injury. That sucks to have him out, but other than that, everything seems great in Pittsburgh. And the Steelers' defense will definitely be tested, so it's safe to say that they won't be as dominant as they were in the first 5 games, but I do still expect them to be elite defensively. They'll face teams like the Ravens, of course, but as well as the Titans and Bills, so tests are coming up for sure. Let's remember though, the Steelers get close to 5 sacks a game, which is on pace for an NFL record of 80 sacks, which is absolutely absurd. But the Steelers were finished with the top defense again in 2020, and we know this saying, defense wins championships. Secondly, in 2019, the Steelers had arguably the worst offense in the league to pair with the best defense in the league, as reflected in the 2019 record of 8-8. The 2 sides of the ball canceled out for Pittsburgh. I'm not going to say that the Steelers' offense will be absolutely elite by any stretch here, but I will say their offense will at least be watchable this year, now that Big Ben is back and healthy. Last season, the Steelers finished in the bottom 5 of both passing and rushing with Mason Rudolph and Doug Hodges at quarterback. Ben has been relatively healthy over the course of his career, so as long as that 2019 injury was a fluke, I don't have any doubts that Roethlisberger will be out there for them. With Ben back, expect Juju and James Conner to have better seasons than they had in 2019. Juju's already matched his touchdown mark of 3 that he had in 2019, and my expectations aren't too high for him like it is for a lot of other people. I just want to see Juju be a consistent part of the offense. Chase Claypool has somewhat taken the league by storm for his breakout game versus the Eagles, having over 100 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. He, Juju, Deontay Johnson, and James Washington will need to collectively be explosive, and by that I mean they need to at least have one of these guys have a great game each week, because I do not think there's one guy that can be consistently that number 1 guy for Big Ben to throw to. And that might be a concern for the Steelers moving forward. But luckily Ben has been there and done that, so having his experience would do wonders for this promising wide receiver core. As for James Conner in the running game, he has already eclipsed his touchdown mark of 4 from last season, and he's also averaging 5 yards per carry. Hopefully Conner can stay healthy as well, because he is definitely more than a serviceable back that can make plays. The offense will be by committee. The run game for the Steelers as a whole is mediocre at best, which I find concerning for them moving forward. Offense will be a struggle for the Steelers at times for sure, but hopefully for them, the defense is so elite that it doesn't really matter. Now, it wouldn't be a complete video if I didn't mention the outstanding coach that is Mike Tomlin. Is he the best coach in the league? No. Is he the most exciting or innovative coach in the league? No. But outside of Bill Belichick, nobody does a better job of coaching discipline to a team than Mike. Along with the discipline is that he knows how to control egos just as well as anybody in the league. Looking at it now, Tomlin should be commended for the way he kept the egos of Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell under control for as long as he did. He's a no-nonsense type of leader that every football team should have, considering the fact that there are so many guys on a team and everyone has their own hidden agendas. Expect the Steelers to be a tight-knit group throughout the season, at least on the field, and if things start to go bad for Pittsburgh on the field, you can assure that the potential locker room talk will stay within that organization. I also want to commend Tomlin on the fact that he went 8-8 with a second and third string quarterback and running back. It was really a couple moments and plays away from being 11-5 or even 12-4, so expect Tomlin to get the best out of every single one of his players, no matter if they're devoid of talent at any position. Now, as for the Steelers moving forward, I do believe they beat the Titans on Sunday and move to 6-0, and that sets up a huge game versus Baltimore the following week. I think the Steelers will split with Baltimore in the regular season. As I see the Steelers being a bad matchup for the Ravens, they will force Lamar to throw the ball efficiently and effectively, and Lamar just hasn't proven that he can do it against elite defenses when games start to matter more. I see the Steelers winning about 11 games this season due to their relatively weak schedule. But hey, it's not their fault they have to play some bad teams such as the Bengals, Washington, Dallas, and Jacksonville. The only thing the Steelers can do at this point is go out and dominate their opponent. That's all you can ask for. I know this might seem like a very bold prediction, but I believe the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC is not the Baltimore Ravens or the Buffalo Bills, but actually the Tennessee Titans, New England Patriots, and most of all, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I know the Pats with Cam have been struggling, but I think they'll figure it out, or at least be good enough to make a wild card game in the playoffs. But my reasoning for these teams over anyone else to threaten the Chiefs is simply because the style in which these teams play with. And also, discipline is essential in the playoffs, and especially going up against a guy like Patrick Mahomes. As for the Steelers, I will say they are the top contenders against the Chiefs because they might not have a very explosive offense, but they do have a balanced offense as they have underrated weapons that can make plays, and I would like to think guys will step up, unlike the Titans where, yes, Ryan Tannehill has been playing great ball and seems like a dark horse MVP candidate. I do not trust that he'll be able to win a game for me if Derrick Henry isn't having his usual monster game. In the wildcard game last season versus the Patriots, Tannehill threw for 72 yards. In the divisional round versus the Ravens, Tannehill threw for 88 yards. Yes, the Titans won both of those games, but I do not see that being able to get the job done this season. I'm sorry, but I haven't seen them do it yet, and until I see it, I'll lean towards Big Ben, who has won a Super Bowl and make deep playoff runs. I'm not sold on Josh Allen 100% in the playoffs just yet. I want to see how he plays versus good to great defensive teams on a consistent basis. Having Stephon Diggs will help out a ton. Lamar Jackson and the Ravens will not live up to the expectations in the playoffs until Lamar Jackson knows how to lead a comeback once the Ravens go down against a good team, and until he figures out how to throw the ball efficiently and effectively in the playoffs versus good defenses that will force him to throw the ball. I don't see the Ravens doing much in the playoffs. Obviously, I might have to eat my words by the time January rolls around, but as for now, this is how I feel about the playoff contenders in the AFC. All in all, the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers have the most dominant defense in the league this season, a disciplined culture, and a franchise that is used to winning. Also, the fact that their team is balanced offensively even though they aren't as explosive as they might need to be. And for the fact that the Steelers went 8-8 last season with basically the worst offense in the league, and now having future Hall of Famer Ben Roethlisberger back, leads me to believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers are the biggest threat to the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC. Let me know who y'all think the biggest threat to the Chiefs are if it's not the Steelers. Do y'all think it'll be good enough considering the fact that their defense is absolutely elite? Let me know, comment down below. But this is Jimmy from Just the Facts, and I'm signing out. Peace.